Organisms require nutrients to grow, to reproduce, and also to regulate the body functions. Carbon present in atmosphere is used by plants for photosynthesis and fixed as carbohydrates. Then plants and animals return carbon dioxide to the atmosphere in what form? Respiration. Rock, as I said, is a reservoir pool of phosphorus in the form of phosphate. Hello dear students, welcome back to session 5 of this chapter called Ecosystem. Myself B. Shobharani from the Department of Biology, Vidyashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence. So in my today's session, I'll be completing the last concepts of this interesting chapter called Ecosystem. So what are we going to learn in today's session? We are going to learn about a very important cycle called nutrient cycle, or it can also be called as biogeochemical cycle. I think all of us do agree that organisms require nutrients to grow, to reproduce, and also to regulate the body functions. So how are these nutrients made available to the organisms? And I think we all know that there is always an interaction between the living and the non and the environment. So in today's session, we'll be studying about the nutrient cycling. So what is nutrient cycle? The cyclic movements of nutrient elements between living components of ecosystem to non-living abiotic components is called nutrient cycle, or it is also called as what? Biogeochemical cycle. How do we define the word called nutrient cycle or biogeochemical cycle? The cyclic movements of nutrient elements between the living organisms, that is the living components of ecosystem, to non-living abiotic components is called nutrient cycle. What are the two types of the nutrient cycle we are going to study? There are two types of nutrient cycle. One is called the gaseous nutrient cycle. The one is called the gaseous nutrient cycle, and the second one is called the sedimentary nutrient cycle. What is the basis for classifying the nutrient cycle into two types based on the nutrients that they are going to produce? So based on the state of nutrients, there are two types of nutrient cycle. So one is called the gaseous nutrient cycle. For example, what are the cycles you are going to study under the category called gaseous nutrient cycle? One is called nitrogen cycle, the other one is called the carbon cycle, where atmosphere is the reservoir, right, for carbon. Then moving on to the sedimentary nutrient cycle. What are the types of cycle you are going to study in sedimentary nutrient cycle? One is sulfur, the other one is called phosphorus cycle. And the Earth's crust is the reservoir for this phosphorus cycle. So two very important cycles what you are going to study in this particular concept called nutrient cycle is, one is the carbon cycle, which is a gaseous cycle, and the second one is the phosphorus cycle, which is the sedimentary cycle. So what are the two nutrient cycles that are included for your syllabus in second PUC? One is called carbon cycle, which is a gaseous nutrient cycle, and the other one is the phosphorus cycle, which is a sedimentary nutrient cycle. Now let us study one by one in detail. I think if we can have a look at this particular schematic diagram, you can see that there is a continuous flow of nutrients from one form to another form. Here you can see. So when dead organic matter goes back to the soil, it is taken by the plants, then the plants are eaten by the animals. So like this, we find there is a cyclic movement of nutrients from the living to non-living and from non-living to living in one form or the other. So as I said, for carbon cycle, that is for gaseous cycle, atmosphere is the reservoir. For sedimentary cycle, we find that the Earth's crust is a reservoir for sulfur and phosphorus cycle. So atmosphere is the reservoir for gaseous cycle. Earth's crust is the reservoir for sulfur and phosphorus cycle. But as you know, For your syllabus, you have two very important cycles. One is the carbon cycle, which is a gaseous cycle, and the other one is the phosphorus cycle, which is a sedimentary cycle. And we know that soil, temperature, pH, moisture regulate the nutrient cycle. So they are all governed by certain factors. The nutrient cycles are governed by certain factors like the soil, the temperature, the pH, moisture. They all regulate the nutrient cycle. Now let us understand one very important term called standing state. So what is standing state? It is the amount of nutrients present in the soil at a given time. So this is one word which is usually asked in the exam. Standing state, standing crop is usually asked in your PU board examination. So what is standing state? Define. Or what is standing state? They will ask. So what is standing state? It is the amount of nutrients present in the soil at a given time. Right? Hope you have understood this particular slide. Right? So what is nutrient cycle? Once again, we'll just recap what all we have learned in this particular slide. So the cyclic movement of nutrient elements between living components of ecosystem to non-living abiotic components is called nutrient cycle or biogeochemical cycle. So what are the types of nutrient cycle based on the state of nutrients? There are two types of nutrient cycle. One is called the gaseous nutrient cycle, which includes nitrogen and carbon, and sedimentary nutrient cycle, which includes sulfur and phosphorus cycle. So as we know, for gaseous cycle, atmosphere is the reservoir, and for the sedimentary cycle, the earth's crust is the reservoir. So as we know, many factors regulate this nutrient cycle, like the soil, temperature, pH, moisture, all this regulate the nutrient cycle. So what is standing state? It is amount of nutrients present in the soil in a given time. Now let us study about a very important cycle called the carbon cycle, which is a gaseous cycle. So what is the reservoir? Atmosphere. Atmosphere is the reservoir. Atmosphere is the reservoir for the carbon cycle. Here you can see how the cycle is. So carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is utilized by the plants for photosynthesis, and then it is eaten by the cattle, plants. So we know then sometimes even it is decomposed. So here we can see the oil and organic sediments, photosynthetic. Right. So now let us understand what is this carbon cycle. As I said, it is a gaseous cycle where the atmosphere is the reservoir. As we know, 49% of carbon constitutes the dry weight of an organism. Right. So 49% of the total dry weight of an organism consists of carbon. 71% carbon are found in ocean. And plants, I think all of us know plants are autotrophs, and carbon dioxide is one of the raw material for photosynthesis for plants, and they are also called as autotrophs. Fix 4 into 1013 kg of carbon by photosynthesis annually. So they use maximum amount of carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. And carbon cycle consists of 4 components that are they are atmosphere, ocean, living and dead organisms. So carbon cycle consists of what? 4 very important components, that is the atmosphere, the ocean, the living and the dead organisms. So moving on to carbon cycle, which is one of the very important gaseous cycle, where atmosphere is the reservoir and the total weight of an organism, the dry weight of an organism consists of 49% of carbon, whereas the ocean consists of 71% of carbon, and plants and autotrophs use maximum of carbon for photosynthesis. And carbon cycle consists of 4 very important components, that is they are the atmosphere, ocean, living and dead organisms. Now, carbon present in atmosphere is used by plants for photosynthesis and fixed as what? Carbohydrates. Now, what is the prepared food of plants called? Starch. Starch is nothing but a polysaccharide, which is a carbohydrate. So, carbon present in atmosphere is used by plants for photosynthesis and fixed as carbohydrates. Then plants and animals return carbon dioxide to the atmosphere in what form? Respiration. right? So even the plants also during the process of utilize carbon dioxide during the process of photosynthesis, but give out what? Carbon dioxide during the process of respiration. So what are the sources of carbon dioxide from plants and animals? Through respiration. Then microbes of soil on land and ocean decay the organic matter and return to the atmosphere. As I said, 71% of carbon is found in the ocean. Microbes of soil on land and ocean decay and the organic matter and return carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. As you know, it is a gaseous, so it goes back to the atmosphere. So burning of wood, forest fire, burning of fossil fuels release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Imagine the maximum number of vehicles that are plying on the road, which is very, very root cause for the increase in the carbon content, carbon dioxide and even carbon monoxide. Right? So burning of wood, then fossil fire, burning of fossil fuels, all these release what? Carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And volcanic activity and carbon dioxide of sediment circulation also release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So what are the sources of release of carbon dioxide? First, carbon present in atmosphere is used by plants in the preparation of food called carbohydrates. Then plants and animals return carbon dioxide to the atmosphere by respiration. Microbes of soil on land and ocean decay the organic matter and return carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So burning of wood, forest fire, burning of fossil fuels release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Volcanic activity and carbon dioxide of sediment circulation release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So here you can see the plants through respiration release carbon dioxide. Animals also through respiration release carbon dioxide. Then they utilize carbon dioxide for the preparation of organic compound, decaying organisms, dead organic waste. All these are the sources of, and even as I said, even the factory emissions, burning of fossil fuels, burning of forest fire, all these are the sources of release of carbon to the atmosphere, carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So that is all about carbon cycle. Now let us move on to the next very important nutrient cycle, that is phosphorus cycle. You know, phosphorus cycle is called as the sedimentary cycle, where the Earth's crust is the source for the phosphorus. And I think all of us know phosphorus is utilized for many body functions in organisms. So it is a sedimentary cycle in which the phosphorus in solid state cycle between atmosphere and the organism. And here phosphorus, as I said, it is the structural component of the living organisms, may it be like the cell membrane, nucleic acids, and even for electron transport system of cell, even for the synthesis of ATP. So phosphorus is what? Very important structural component of the living organisms, like for the formation of cell membrane, nucleic acid. Nucleic acid, one of the very important component of nucleic acid is what? Phosphoric acid. Then electron transport system. Phosphorus is used also for various purposes, like for the process of formation of bones, teeth and shells. I think you have come across many shelled animals. So for the process of formation of shell, phosphorus is very, very important. So phosphorus cycle, it is one of the sedimentary cycle, which is a classical example for sedimentary cycle where the Earth's crust is the reservoir. Then phosphorus, as I said, is a structural component of the living organisms like the cell membrane, then the nucleic acid, electron transport system of cell, and it is also used for the process of formation of bone, teeth and shell. So here you can see how the Earth's crust, rock, I think all of us know the weathering of rock will produce what? Phosphorus. So here you can see the leaching inorganic phosphate, then the leaching of into water bodies from soil. So this is the dissolved solvent which is absorbed by the plants, and the plants are eaten by the animals. So the animals are decomposed. Then the geological upliftment pushes new rock to the surface. So here rocks contain phosphate. The weathering of rocks produces phosphorus. So all this is the cycle how phosphorus is recycled. Rock, as I said, is a reservoir pool of phosphorus in the form of phosphate. So which is the main reservoir here? As I said, Earth's crust. One is the rock. Then rock weathering, the rock weathering results in what? Dissociation of phosphorus into soil water to form soil solution, which is absorbed by the plants. Here you can see, which is absorbed by the plants. So rock is the reservoir pool of phosphorus in the form of phosphates. So rock weathering results in what? Dissociation of phosphates into soil water to form soil solution, which is absorbed by the plants. So consumers derive phosphorus from plants in the form of food. Like we depend upon the plants for our food, and that is how we get phosphate. So the excretory products of animals and dead bodies of organisms are decayed by microbes to release what? Phosphorus into the soil. So these are all the methods how the phosphorus goes back to the Earth's crust. So that is about the phosphorus cycle and model of phosphorus cycle in terrestrial ecosystem. Here you can see the consumers, so decomposition of the consumers and the weathering of the rock. So here, as you know, they are the producers. So producers, litter fall, then the uptake, so runoff water, it goes back to the plant. So the plants utilize the same soil solution containing phosphates, and that is eaten by the animals, that is a consumer. So this is how it is cycled back. So now let us understand the differences between the carbon cycle and the phosphorus cycle. First and foremost, 3 points are there. So for carbon cycle, reservoir of carbon is atmosphere. For phosphorus cycle, reservoir of phosphorus is Earth's crust. So carbon cycle, it is an example for what type of cycle? Gaseous cycle. Phosphorus cycle is an example for sedimentary cycle. Sedimentary cycle. So here reservoir of carbon is atmosphere. There the reservoir of phosphate is Earth's crust. Atmosphere produces more carbon dioxide. Here atmosphere produces very less phosphorus. Then exchange between organisms and environment is more. Like as I said, plants and animals give out carbon dioxide through the process of respiration, burning of fossil fuels. All that is like is more. Exchange between organisms and environment is less. So what is the difference between carbon cycle and phosphorus cycle? One of the cycles is definitely asked in the exam. It may be a carbon cycle or a phosphorus cycle. So reservoir of carbon is atmosphere. Here reservoir of phosphorus is Earth's crust. Atmosphere produces more carbon dioxide. Here atmosphere produces very less phosphorus. Exchange between organisms and environment is more in carbon cycle, whereas exchange between organisms and environment is very less in phosphorus cycle. Now let us study about a very, very important concept and the last part of this chapter called ecosystem services, which is definitely asked in the examination. So this is like a guarantee question which is asked in the examination. What are the ecosystem services? What do you mean by ecosystem services? Are we not benefited by the ecosystem in one form or the other? Definitely so. So we depend upon the environment or the ecosystem for our livelihood. It may be in the form of food, water, air, etc. So what are the ecosystem services? First and foremost, and are we not benefited by the products of ecosystem, may it be the food grains, may it be the firewood or the medicinal plants, right? So the products of ecosystem process are named as ecosystem services, which include. So what do we mean by ecosystem services? The products of ecosystem process are named as ecosystem services. First and foremost, imagine if plants were not there and more of carbon dioxide, I think the air would not have been purified. So we had to grow more plants. More we grow plants, more we'll get oxygen. So it means it purifies air and water and are called laws of nature. So they are very, very important. Why? Because plants are the very, very important, even animals also we can say. Both plants and animals, they are very important for the maintenance of ecological balance. As we know, plants take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. Animals take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. It is like give and take policy. So in one form or the other, it purifies the air. It helps to avoid drought and floods. What do you mean by drought? For example, if you plant more trees and plants, so automatically you can prevent floods. And at the same time, more that you grow plants, more will have rainfall. So you can avoid what? Drought, that is drought, famine, etc. And at the same time also, we can avoid floods. I think all of us know the natural calamities is going to destroy the whole ecosystem, right? So it circulates fertile soil. As we know, soil is very, very important for the growth of crops, may it be the food crops or may it be the commercial crops. So in one form or the other, plants play a great role in an ecosystem, and it circulates what? Fertile soil. Then what do you mean by fertile soil? Soil which has more of humus, amorphous, right? So next, it generates fertile soil. So it also generates, it circulates fertile soil and at the same time generates fertile soil. And it is a home of wildlife. Very, very important. See, wild animals cannot live in the cities. So they have their own world. So they, most of the animals, like the wild animals, live in the forest. And many a times, I think all of us know that the forests have been destroyed and many wild animals are moving into the cities. That is the reason why we are occupying their place, and obviously they come and occupy our place. And for this, we have many examples where wild animals move into the city areas or urban areas and cause lot of damage to, may it be to the human beings or maybe to the maybe to the crops. So all these are the very important ecosystem services. So let me repeat, what do you mean by ecosystem services? The products of ecosystem process are named as ecosystem services. They include what? As I said, it is more the plants, more the purified air. Then it helps to avoid what? More your plants. If you plant more plants, obviously we'll have sufficient rainfall and we can avoid drought and famine also. And at the same time, even floods. They're going to check the inflow of water and avoid floods. It circulates what? Fertile soil. It also generates what? Fertile soil. Then it is the home of wildlife. And I think, as I said, plants and animals are very, very important biotic components of this ecosystem. They need to be there for the ecological balance. Then it maintains biodiversity. As I said just now, both plants and animals together maintain the diverse plants and the animals that is existing on this planet Earth. It stores carbon and phosphorus for cycle. As you know, very, very important. The more you plant the plants, they utilize the carbon, right? So, and as we know, animals respire and give out carbon dioxide. So that carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plants. And phosphorus, as we know, the Earth's crust is the reservoir for the phosphorus. So it is a source of aesthetic, cultural and spiritual. Are we not surprised and fascinated to see the beauty of this beautiful nature? Of course. And we have this aesthetic value, cultural value. We protect and conserve this biodiversity. We feel that it is our bound duty to conserve and preserve this the biodiversity. So if we don't take care of our environment, then environment will not take care of us. And imagine what will happen, like if the whole environment is destroyed, definitely the living beings like the plants and animals cannot survive. So Robert Costanza and his colleagues appreciated the above life supporting services and put an average price tag of $33 trillion a year. So Robert Costanza and his colleagues appreciated the above life supporting services and put an average price tag of $33 trillion a year. So these are all the important concepts what we have come across in this last session of this chapter called ecosystem. Hope you have understood this chapter, which is also very important for us, and the knowledge what we gained from this chapter also is very important other than passing out your PUC. Hope you have understood this interesting chapter called ecosystem. So in the coming session, I'll be moving with another very interesting chapter called biodiversity and conservation. So I'll be back in the coming session with a new and interesting chapter. Till then, goodbye and thank you.